Okay, let's see. That should be sound. And that should be me. Hello, welcome to 52 Minutes live stream. My name is Alex. Today is a Saturday, Easter something Saturday, and I hope you're doing well. Welcome. Hello, George. George says, hello from cloudy Duran in Germany. And sorry, some of us will be at Uncle Jesse's. There's a laser cutter giveaway running. Okay. Nice to hear from you, George. Today is, I don't know what hey, Dave. Good morning from Tennessee. Today is an Easter Saturday. I don't know what the official name is, actually. And so probably a lot of people are doing Eastery holiday things today. But I figured for those of us that are not, then it's nice to hang out and maybe do some hobbying. So please let me know what you're working on and, how things are going. Hello, Dr. Dave from the UK. I never made it to the start of one of your Hangouts. No, this is one of the starts. I think probably today will be a little bit of a quiet one. A lot of folks about doing different things. But I'm glad you could make it. Hello, Chris. How are you doing from Washington? And another Dave checking in. Chris says, while I'm traveling, I was able to link up with a local gaming group and we played 3 rounds of Relic Blade. That's pretty cool. Relic Blade is not something I've tried, but good stuff. It's pretty ambitious to meet up with gaming folk while traveling. Good on you. Rex says, happy midnight from Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, it'd be... it's always the thing with the time for these, streams. I've given up trying to stream specific, times. I just do it when I can and feel like it, honestly. But the time thing is always tricky because it's try and find a time to stream where people from the US can join in at the same time as people from Australia can join in. And yeah, so I'm glad you made it, even if it's midnight over there in Melbourne. Hello, Marcus from Germany. And Stretch, how are you doing? Breezy Cornwall, yeah. Dave says it's a Dave Fest. Hello, Kim, how are you doing? Kim says he's painting his modular trench system for Forbidden Psalm, The Last War. Yeah, cool stuff. I got to see some of Kim is a patron, and we do hangouts, on the Discord that you get access to when you're a patron. We had a bit of a hangout last night for or evening, couple of hours, just doing some hobbies, and Kim showed some neat rust things he was working on with actual iron powder, which is cool. Hello, Paulo from Portugal. Welcome. Marcus says, had a 4-player, 1-page rules game last night to celebrate the holiday. Kings of the Hill, of course. So which one's that, Marcus? I know they do, shorter versions of already existing games, or simplified rules, perhaps, is a better term than shorter versions. But they have a 40K and they have an Age of Sigmar and stuff. But which one is King of the Hill? Is that a copy of something, or is it one of their own things? Hello, Ben. Rex says, I'm a professional DM and I should be sleeping because I have to run 3 sessions back to back, but instead I'm here. That's pretty cool. How are you a professional DM? Like, how does that work? People pay you? That's cool. Maybe I'm confusing. Can you say what DM is? Phil, how are you doing? A bit late getting in, not really. 5 minutes. That's, I've only had like 1 sip of my tea, so that's not late. Daniel says hello. Happy yeasting. Hope it makes you bread for the summer. Please elaborate. But today is actually sort of kind of, and I'm been in my bunker for most of the day, working on the next video. But apparently, according to Facebook and my social media, which is my connection to the outside world, today is like the first day of spring in the Stockholm region. So apparently, a few stories up, there is warmth and sunshine, and so obviously I'm protecting myself by being down here in the bunker, waving knives about. Hello, Mark. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Anna Karin says, greetings from the western parts of Sweden. Birds are out. Yeah, see, that's what I figured. So I'm hiding because, you never know. They just, they can just swoop down and take your head off if you don't watch out. Everyone should have a bunker, a bird-free bunker. Isak as well. Happy holidays to you too. How are you doing? Rex says, I run paid D&D sessions in a very crowded, noisy tavern in Melbourne. See, that's I didn't, I could never have guessed the noisy tavern in Melbourne, but I figured the getting paid to run D&D sessions was what I thought it was, but that's pretty cool. It's a interesting job. Phil says PG tips will barely be taking effect. Indeed, if it wasn't for the fact that I've already had 2 before this one, so I'm in full effect. Marcus says the name of the system is Grimdark Future Firefight. Yeah, so that's the kill team version. Yeah, the mission was King of the Hill. Now I get you. I've never played Kill Team or Grimdark Future Firefight, so I wasn't aware of the scenario. Dave Potts says, assembling my first dreadnought ever. Contrary to others' opinions, I was compelled to choose a classic walk-in coffin, ironclad. Yes, it does host a female space marine for the evolution. That's good. Thanks, Dave. Which one's the dreadnought? I'm not traversed in the ways of dreadnoughts, I'm afraid. I built a tank, actually. Is it over here? It's not completely done, but it's a tank. It's like a scale model thing. Like 65 billion bits to make this. This is like 3 days work. Kind of, not really, 2 at least, maybe. I don't know. No, that's not fair. I've been doing lots of other things as well. But yeah, this is going to be in a video in the not so distant future. Well, I'm a bit at loss of how to like prime it now, because it's like well. Put it away. So it's got like some movable parts. Like I can turn the turret, and this gun thing can go up and down, I think. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, but I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to prime it without all this just getting stuck. And so, I could prime some of these things in bits. But I mean, at some point, yeah, I don't know. Working on that. Because this thing can come off as well, I think. Yeah, there we are. So I could prime them in separate pieces, but when I glue it together at some point, the glue is going to ruin the paint job to a certain extent. Or I just decide that this is not, it's not going to be movable. It's just going to be in a fixed position. But that's a bit boring, isn't it? Kind of fun to be able to fiddle things around if I want to. So that's my conundrum of the day. Daniel says, East, bready, ready, bad pun. Okay, you're a bit going on over my head there, Daniel, but I'm glad to hear you're from side of town. Hello, Miguel. I hope you're doing well. Happy holidays. Mr. Bill. How you doing, Mr. Bill? Bill making stuff. Hope you're doing well. I miss you. Where you been? Ravi says, good morning from California, where there's a bit of rain in deep winter. Yeah, we're going into spring, and I love it. This winter has been hard, man. No. Every year I forget how long the Swedish winter is, and every year I get depressed for winter. And it was like on the verge of becoming spring a couple of weeks back. It was like the birds were out, the sun was shining, the snow had melted. Everyone was like, I could actually see smiling faces every now and again. You'll be noticing if you continue to watch these live streams for the next couple of months, I'll become a happier and happier man. Winter sucks. But anyway, so there was like hope. And then all of a sudden it just started snowing again. And it's been like snowing. It just snowed for a week. And then it's been like 2-3 more weeks of snow. And now that's finally melted away. And I hope that was the last time I see snow in my life. That's how I feel right, at the moment. Alison, how you doing? Good time zone. Yeah, I hope you're well, Alison. And Dan does. How are you doing, Dan? Are you and Bill are you in the same room? Or are you preferably not? It was just, I just saw both of you jump at the same time, which is fun. How are you doing? Mark says, yay to tanks. I know, you're going to like it, Mark. It's scale modeling. Why not? It's a tank. Tanks should be in war games, shouldn't they? Daniel says, I've been building my supply of Saurus Knights because I have so many. That's the lizard folk, right? I once wanted to start a lizardmen army. I even bought the book. But something stopped me. Probably, trying to get the other army done first. Rex Francis says, the evolution initiative is great. Makes me wonder if there's some room in the law for a Lilith too. Is that the chaos one? Yeah. For those of you that don't know, I'm running a revolution from my bunker. It's a good thing I'm in the bunker, actually, because, people seem to be taking offense. So it's good to be hiding. No, just kidding. It's kind of I'm serious, but I'm also kind of lighthearted about things. but people are taking me seriously, which is, so they write serious things to me, and then I kind of get serious about it. But in all honesty, it's also just a bit of fun and games. But I did a video about a female space marine, which people didn't like, and so then I made a poster with the female space marine on it that looks like this. I didn't make it. Is an artist called Jose. I forgot his last name. Juan Gomez Cabello. I'm sorry. It's, you should never try and quote names while on stream, especially not when you like me and like names never stick. But this was the poster, kind of, which is a free to download file that you can get from my web store, which is 52miniatures.com. And so it's just a fun thing. It's a cool poster, and list poster for future female space soldiers. I mean, yeah, it could not be a space marine because, one, they don't exist in a female form, and two, that's not an IP that I'm allowed to mess with. So it's obviously just a female future space soldier. And it's an absolutely lovely piece of art. And because of that, you can also, in my web store, purchase these absolutely gorgeous prints on printed very finely. I made a video on this, so you can check that as well if you haven't. But these are great. It's just a really nice piece of art that you can buy and put on your wall or give as a present to someone who just likes sci-fi stuff. And in the process, you're both supporting like the free to download file that people can have in their gaming rooms, or like print out really tiny on your terrain or whatever. You're also supporting the artist, Juan, and you're also supporting me. It's just one big show of support by buying the art. Unfortunately, at the moment, I won't be able to send you anything because I've run out of envelopes. And the darn people who are selling me the envelopes have run out of envelopes, because apparently cardboard is as precious as gold these days. And so in about 1 or 2 weeks, probably just the 1 week, I will be getting a new shipment of sturdy envelopes, and I can continue to ship pieces of art out to you. But it's been great fun. Thank you to those of you who bought some already. I think I've sold about maybe 50 prints, which is great fun. So thank you for that support. And please buy more and tell your mum about it. I'm sure she'd love some sci-fi art. It's probably her birthday soon anyway, Dr. Dave says, I've just primed a Tamiya 148 Churchill tank turret, and the movable barrel is still movable. Okay, that's cool. This is 148 scale as well. But my German tank destroyer will most probably destroy your tank. Little strangely shaped Churchill. Mark from Montana primed his tank after the assembly. No real issues. Okay. And you've got a Churchill going as well, haven't you, Mark? I've got inside information, see. Phil says, prime normally and then move the bits afterwards. If you can't see where the primer came off, who cares? Okay, fair enough. So just assemble it all and prime it. Because like what I'm worried about is this little piece of whatever it is, this thing goes on here. I don't know how well you can see that. And so when this moves, it like scrapes up against this thing. So that's the bit that I'm kind of worried about. I didn't really explain that well, but I could see that you can't really see what I'm trying to show you. So let's just move on. I just ended up down the bottom here again because my chat jumped, and I saw that Bill says, when am I getting a poster for the workshop? Well, you can download one, Bill, if you want, for free. I'm still waiting. I wanted to send you one, but I ran out of prints. So I'm waiting for the printers, and then I can send one to you. If you'd like one, like one of the fine art prints just because I like Bill. So you can have one. Now, where was I? Dave Potts says light prime near moving parts. Yeah, that's probably a thing as well. Like not have the dripping, my regular kind of dripping technique when it comes to primer. You go, whoa, okay. So I guess I'll just try and dust it a little bit. I bought a new primer for this as well, just because I haven't tried any primers from Enamel by MIG. One shot primer, pow pow. Haven't tried their primers, so I thought, if I'm going to be doing a scale model, I might as well use an Enamel by MIG primer. George says, "Isn't it a model for build your favorite pose and glue it together permanently?" I mean, I could. I'm just a bit intrigued by the fact that it moves, because it's fun to move parts around. It's more like a toy, and I like toys, so I just like it. Miniatyrgubben, which is Swedish for miniature man, kind of. Alex, you should be out in the sunny Stockholm. I should, but who's going to make the YouTube videos if I'm not making them? Iron Miniatures, how are you doing? Good morning, everyone. For some reason, I thought this was on Tuesday. Could be. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. No, next week's not good. No, I'll actually be in Berlin on Tuesday. If anyone wants to recommend a cool hobby store in Berlin, please do. I'm going to be there for next week. Miguel has a unusually cold 14 degrees in Mexico. It's probably freezing inside then, because you don't really, or, do you have proper heating? I remember that from when I've been in countries where, the houses aren't really built for cold weather, and it's actually feels colder than it does in a Swedish winter, just because you never really get warm, Hello, Stretch. Mostly painting a large squig while slipping a few ciders. My. Indeed, a perfectly timed stream. Dan says we're not in the same room, just the same wavelength. You sure? I get the impression sometimes that you're on like opposing wavelengths. Lord Biscuit the Tossable, welcome, and hope you're well. Just getting to the end of my shift, not bought or done anything for a while, but I managed to sell off some of my spare stuff. I read your spare son. I don't know why, and that became like a weird. Why is he telling me this? This should not be in this chat. Sort of planning eventually to invest in some Brutal Cities. Cool. Ryan from Brutal Cities has been pumping out some new designs, and he's got some pretty cool ideas going, I think. It's great to see just a constant development, not just a stagnation in, just always evolving. It's great fun. Eric Burton says, I got my prints this morning. Amazing. I'm glad you did, Eric. By the way, I just need to check. You're not that, Eric. No, that's with a D, isn't it? Burton. Or is it? Yeah. Because that would be cool. But you're allowed to be you as well, even if you're not him. But yeah, I remember your name from filling in the orders and signing the letters and everything. So I'm glad you got it. It's pretty good looking, isn't it? I'm really proud of these prints. Just how they come out. Bloody expensive too. I should have just gone for a cheap option and made some money, but apparently that's not really my calling in life. Okay, I'm trying to find my way back because everything's jumping around. Tyson says mine is shipped. Yes, I've got the majority out of the prints, like the ones that are ordered. There's still you know the edition is of about 550, and I sold 50. So you can always buy another 500. But I think about the first 40 are out and away, and then I could see that I was running low on the envelope, so I ordered them already like a week back. But that's when they said like at least 2 weeks delivery. But I'm glad you're getting yours. Hello, Michael Strange. Hope you're well. Good to see you. Daniel says, I'm having the weirdest lag. Have a great stream and a lovely long weekend. Okay. Well, see you, Daniel. Jamie Daggers, good afternoon. Good to meet your flat self at AdeptiCon. Yeah, I'm glad you did, Jamie. That was great. As Alison is in the chat, which is a friend and patron. She made a flat Alex, like a cutout and a drawing of me, and I got to meet all these great, awesome people at AdeptiCon. Yeah, a bit flat. My state was a bit flat. I was very nervous, so I didn't say much, but it was still great to meet you all. So at some point, it would be really cool to visit in a more sort of filled out 3-dimensional state, but I'm really grateful for the 2-dimensional one as well. Vale says, painting some War Machine, first time catching a hobby hangout live. Hope you've been enjoying the hobby yourself recently. I'm glad you're stopping by. I've been enjoying myself. I mean, I've realized I haven't painted in a long time, actually. It feels a bit weird when just sort of time flies, and I've been busy doing the prints and everything around that. I needed to make a website for that whole thing, and then I did the video on lighting. So like the last time I actually painted something was those yellow little Space Marines. And then I've been kit bashing some miniatures at home, sometimes in the evenings, which has been fun. And now I'm gonna work on this tank here, which is cool. But I haven't painted in quite some time. It feels a little bit weird, and I kind of miss it. So I'm just excited to this should be built today, and I'm going to prime it today, I hope, so that tomorrow maybe I can start painting it. And so that's going to be fun, especially because it's a tank. Like I've never, it's going to be a lot of like scale modeling thing, airbrush and that. So yeah, looking forward to it. Divke says, "Oh, I quite liked their black one-shot primer, the Ammo by MiG. Yeah, it'll be exciting to see how it works. I've been very much enjoying the what's the face? Monument Hobbies is the name of the paint. Their primers, I really like their primers. So I've been using that a lot, but I figured I wanted a brown primer instead of a white or a black one, and I've only got white or black primers, and so then I thought, I can just get another brand that I haven't tried and get the full experience of yeah. Okay, I should be quiet. Phil says to Bill that you should send cat in return. Yeah, no, I think Bill has a cat, also kind of a flat cat, but a bit more 3-dimensional than flat Alex. But I'm not really sure I'd stand having that cat around. I think you can keep the cat, Bill. And Bill says, if Alex comes to salute, I'll bring him a cat. Yeah, Yeah, I checked. I've tried to work that out, Bill, but it's not. I talked a bit, very briefly in a chat with Bill about hanging out at Salute, which is a convention thing in the UK. But it's a weekend when I have my son, and there's not really any other folks about that can take care of my son if I would go away for those days. Because yeah. Anyway, you don't need to hear things about my personal life. Essentially, it'll be difficult for me to go to Salute, Bill. But we should plan ahead and like book it in more, so I can plan it better next time. Kevin says one shot primer is rebadged Steinel res. Okay. Maybe it is. I don't know. Johannes says, hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We are. Oh, wait. My chat jumped again. Mark says, we used rust effects from Ammo by MiG on the Churchill treads. Look pretty darn good. And yes, the Churchill is a bit odd looking, but Isaac wanted a British tank, so this kit was a good choice. Yeah, it looks cool. It's like weirdly square and chunky. But I think I kind of like that look. It looks almost, it could be more of a future side of weird warfare, like a 40k tank ish, more than what an American tank would. Hello, Duke. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Clyde Dashing, who's calling me Wizard of Light. I hope you're well, Clyde. And on the same note, Compnative? Hey, Compnative. Great lighting video. Do you know of a cheaper spectrometer option for detecting CRI spectrum, like maybe an app? No, I don't, actually. I don't know what's in that machine. I know that it's... so like the spectrometer that I used in the video, if anyone has anyone else I'll just hit that. This is going well. Okay, I'll start again, and I'll try not to hit the microphone. I did a video on like lighting and stuff like that, if you haven't seen it. And in it I use a measuring device, which is called a spectrometer, which it measures, I think, photons or something, like that. I don't know how it measures the things it measures, but essentially it measures the full spectrum of light, because light is essentially not just like white light. It's lots of different colors that together to us appear like just white light. Anyway, and so this spectrometer can just sort of say, there's red light and blue light and green light and whatever, and these things are missing or these things are not missing and whatnot. And that spectrometer that I used, I think it's about maybe $1,700 or something like that. There is another version which is even more expensive. It looks almost identical, but that one's used like for even more, like maybe in a factory where you're actually producing lamps, for example. But there's only one company that makes those, and there's no others on the market because it's such a small niche market that I know of. I'm sure there's really, really complex ones like that, industrial grade things or whatever NASA needs when they're making, satellites or whatever. But if you just want to buy one, there's pretty much just one brand and just one model, and that's it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it's really expensive. They've kind of got the market cornered. And I don't know how the technology inside works, but I don't think there's an app. I don't think the phone. I don't think the camera, which would be what you could use on your phone. I don't think your camera on your phone could measure that kind of stuff. I think there's other type of sensors involved. I could be completely wrong, but otherwise, you know, it would be it could be just a function in a regular light meter, which it isn't. You know, um, so yeah, I don't know of a cheaper option, honestly. The thing is, you can rent one if you really, really want to. Like, I don't actually like the one I had in the video. I don't actually own it because it's um, yeah. Nowadays, one doesn't really need that within photography. It was sort of more of a thing used previously, and so I sometimes really need it for when I'm filming things. If I know I'm going to be in a tricky location or whatever, and then I rent one, which is about $50 a day or something to rent it. So that's what I did when I made the video. And I don't think because the video is performing terribly because it's not about Space Marines. I probably haven't even made $50 yet. So you could super comment and whatever things you want. Is that what it's called, or is it? I don't know. You can give me monies anyway if you want in the chat, which is a cool thing. You can also press like, because the more people that like the stream, the more other people will know that it actually exists, because it's a YouTube thing. If people don't show their happiness, then YouTube doesn't share the joy of being in my company. And you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you're really hardcore, you can join the Patreon. There. Usually I have admins around that say all these lovely things or remind me to say them. And they usually type them out in more of a pleasant manner, which actually entices you to do it. And not like I'm just ordering you about. But, either way. What's that thing called when you? Because super chat, is it super chat? Is that it? Super comment. That's for videos. Anyway. iMage says, I think my print number is 85 and it does say shipped now, so I'll wait for it to arrive in Canada. Yeah, no, you mustn't mix up the order number with the number of the print, because that order number is everything from the store, which includes the actual free downloads. So if your order number was 85, I'm sure you'll have like your print will be like number 8 or 5 even, or whatever. See, look, that's one of the ones. Clyde Dashing gives monies. Thanks, Clyde. It's $10. It's pretty cool. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, Clyde. Bill Making Stuff says, I got to get to AdeptiCon at some point. Yeah, look, I mean, it'd just be, I'm a bit jealous even if the salute thing you're doing, Bill. It's just, it would be nice to just be able to connect with people, not isolate oneself in a bunker. I know you isolate yourself in a you work in the other direction. You're moving upwards in your attic, and I'm in the basement. But we're both just sitting in our own little bubbles, and it'd be nice to just burst that bubble and go out and meet some people that do the same thing as we do. And there's nothing like that around in Sweden, unfortunately. Nothing that I know of that is like. It's like I think this weekend in Gothenburg there's like GothenburgCon or something like that, but it's nothing to the extent of that I would want to travel to Gothenburg to visit, because there's just not enough things going on. It's not big. It's just small conventions compared to AdeptiCon or something like that. George says, how would you varnish a Mini with hated metallic parts? Prime everything first and paint with metallic over it. So these will be, wait. How would you varnish a Mini with metallic parts? Do you mean that the miniature is made out of like a metal? Prime everything first and paint with metallics over it. So these will be unprotected. I'm not really sure I'm getting you, George. So is it a metal Mini and you want to know that the primer sticks okay? Or is there something do you want the metal to show? I'm not really getting it. Please explain more. Comcat says, brown primer is the best for tanks. That's what I figured as well. Like brown or gray, I guess. I'm trying to find my way in the chat. Halike from Finland says hello. Hello to you too. And Girl Painting, my German viewer. I hope you're well. Also says thank you for the lights video. It was very enlightening. Pun intended, I hope. But yeah, I hope, it was a long video and a lot of rambling and that. I've realized it's very difficult for me to make videos about things that I actually know anything about. It's a lot easier to make videos about things that I don't know anything about and then just, experiment or whatever. Unfortunately, people sometimes take the fact that I make videos on YouTube, mix that up with that I have some kind of knowledge when it comes to miniatures and stuff. But lights is more of no. All of what I said just previously is not really true. I think the big thing with trying to make videos about something like lighting is really difficult because it's not information that or knowledge that I realize that I've got. It's only because it all happens automatically. If you work with something almost daily for like 15 years, it's not like you forget the knowledge that you actually have. And so then when you actually start trying to explain something, there's just so much that comes out. And a lot of it is maybe not necessary to share because it's just too complex. So it's really difficult to make that kind of videos. I find that I just say, but yeah, I hope whatever is in that video might help people a little bit when it comes to light to more of an extent than just saying, this is a good lamp, this is a crap lamp. Hopefully people can use what I said is a little bit of some kind of a tool and then make that decision on their own. But we'll see. Tyson says, my print is coming to Canada as well. I hope it is. I mean, if you've got a confirmation and everything, then it definitely is. Farm to tabletop for varnish and metallic. Okay, that's you're going on with the metallic and varnish talk. That's good. Please solve the problem. Hello, Marcus. Hope you're well. Phil says, the spectrometer is just like a very high quality but simple camera sensor with a very broad selection of individual frequency sensors, but that output just the digital signal strength. I think I get what you're saying, Phil. And then George says, isn't that the same thing as the monitor calibration tools? Could be. I've got some of them. Well, I had at least. I think my monitor now has a built-in one. Okay. Okay, so here's George's answer to the metal thing. No, it's a 3D printed mini with some spots I like to paint in metallics. Okay, but I also want to varnish it matte to protect the paint job. Okay, so just prime everything, George, and usually, depending on what it is, but metallic paints have a tendency to look nice over a black primed surface, in my experience. So I just, yeah. Prime everything as usual, and just paint with your metallic paint on top. You'll be fine. Oh, there's more money. Kilo, thanks for the content. Must go back to putting up shelves to hold craft supplies instead of my previous storage. It was good of you to donate. Cleo, thank you. And Dave, the lighting video was exceptionally substantive, and it was enjoyable and valuable to me. Thanks. Well, thank you both for the donations. Very kind. Duke says, I found the lighting video very interesting. I think I managed to make an informed decision on a light. Unfortunately, it was not the Redgrass Games one. Yeah, I mean, it's that's kind of why I wanted to do it, so that the Redgrass Games lamp is a really is a great lamp. And then there's also lots of other lamps, and it's all about what one likes and what can have on a desk, and like I really like the LED panel things that I've got, which are kind of for photography, but they don't really have a stand, so I have to have now I've got this thing attached to the ceiling, but otherwise one has to have like photographic stands to hold up the lights. That's not really practical if you're at home hobbying. There's all these different kind of decisions, so I'm not going to say what's best for people, but yeah. Okay, Girl Painting says, if someone would put a super soaker to your head and say, paint a Warhammer 40k army or you get wet, what army would you pick? Okay, so it's if someone would put a gun that squirts water to my head, then I'd probably say none, and I'd get wet. But because it's kind of fun playing around with, like, I do that with my son quite a lot in the summers. Water guns, and you run around, and yeah, getting wet is fun. But otherwise, if I really didn't want to get wet, and then I'd probably go for the AdMech thing. I think they're really cool miniatures. Know nothing about how the games play out, or what they're good at, or what they do. I just think the miniatures are cool. Unsupervised. I was like, what just happened? I took the glasses off. Unsupervised learning. Hi, I'm looking to paint a dwarven-made golem automaton for my D&D campaign, but I cannot find a suitable model. Does anyone have any suggestions? Dwarven-made golem. No, I don't. Do you have a 3D printer? Or does it have, is it a physical model that you need to find in like a game store is probably a good place to start the discussion. Okay, let's see. Jacob says, is it plausible to do non-metallic metal but use pigments and metallic medium to do it? Whatever tickles your fancy, I guess. I can't answer that question. You could try and just see if you can do it. I mean, the only thing that I don't know if you mean, because if you put metallic medium in there, so that it's actually got a metallic surface, then you're not really talking about non-metallic metal anymore. Then usually you'd call it true metallic metal, because like non-metallic metal doesn't, that's the point. You're not using metal, so it's non-metallic metal. But so the metallic mediums that I've used, I know I've used Vallejo's metallic medium and one others, but I can't remember which one it is. I think it might have been a company called Instar. Like the actual metallic bits in the mediums was really big and chunky. So you paint something and it looks more like a Christmas decoration than an actual metallic surface. And you can obviously add pigments to that if you want to like change the color of it, but you could also just add regular paint and it would change the color of it. I think you might as well as easily just use a metallic paint and a non-metallic paint, like just a color, or and you probably have more options and be more flexible than try and figure out what kind of pigments you've got and be stuck with just the one metallic medium that maybe doesn't actually look like a great metal. Because you can just mix in a regular paint, just like, oh, this is a nice red, and you can pour some of that into your copper paint or silver paint or gold paint. It'll be fine. And that's maybe an easier starting point to see if you like the effect or not. And then you can, if you're going for cooler colors, like a green or a blue or something like that, you can use maybe a silver, which would probably complement kind of nicely. But whereas if you're going for warmer colors, there's the microphone again. If you're going for warmer colors, like reds and yellows and oranges, then you can use gold or copper, maybe. Dave says, I've been trying to locate a Silmaril to light my hobby space, but they're very difficult to come by. I don't know if I know what a Silmaril is. Maybe I know it by a different name. Yeah, as Marcus said, pretty low consequence there, girl painting with the water gun thing. Yeah. Clyde says lots of kit bashing potential with AdMech types. Yeah. Okay, the chat is running about as always. Matt Journia says Miniac did a non-metallic metal style true metallic metal for his skeletons a couple of months back. Yeah, as in a video. Um, yeah, I mean, working like that is fun with, you know, if you have a metallic paint, either to change the color of the metallic paint. Usually, what's kind of looks great can be to just paint on the metallic paint as is, and once that's dry, you can change the color of it by adding inks on top of that. Um, you know, that's a great way of adding color to your metallics, and then you can do sort of things that look a bit like non-metallic metal, and you know, that maybe it's cooler in the shadows, it's got sort of reflections and things going, but it's all kind of done with transparent type paints on top of a metallic surface. So you can be inks or contrast paint style paints and stuff like that. I find that usually looks really, really good. Dan says, hey, Alex, do you think the icy blue lighting might add to the chill of the season? I mean, I'm moving forward, Dan, and I've got the warm light ahead of me, and I'm leaving the cool behind. Jezik says, I tend to use seed paint from scale as a metallic medium. I don't know what the seed paint is, honestly. Smurf in USA says, I enjoyed your painting metallic style with the dragons, rest dragonfly spaceship. I didn't get that. Did you like the dragons or the spaceship? By the way, did you eventually use it in the game? The spaceship has been used in game as props in Stargrave, just as a as a terrain piece. Yes, and yeah, I mean, regarding all the talk about painting with metal paints, if you haven't already checked them out, I've done a video on testing quite a few different metallic paints for some time back. I don't know really what it's called, something with metallic paints probably. And I've also got a video on painting dragon wings. I think it's probably called something with painting dragon wings, where I use a combination of different styles of metallic paints and effects. Melvin Eklund says, what is the best paint for true metallic metal in your opinion? I guess that depends on what metal you're after. You know, if it's a silver or a gold, or I guess maybe your question is like, what do I consider being a good metallic paint? And I guess the answer to that would be different depending on what kind of effect I'm after and what kind of tool I can use. So I really like the scale 75 metallic paints if I can use an airbrush, trying to get them, you know, in not thick, cloggy layers by using a brush. I find difficult, but I think they work really, really well from an airbrush. I think my criteria for what I think is an okay metallic paint is when it just looks like a metal surface and it doesn't look, as I said before, like a Christmas decoration. You can't, you know, because some metallic paints, like the chunks that, you know, the reflective chunks that makes it look like it's a metallic surface, the little metallic bits in some paints, they're just so large, it just looks sort of speckled. And that I don't like. I want those particles to be as small as possible. And in the scale 75 metallic paints, that is exactly what they are. But they don't apply very well with the brush, in my experience. So through an airbrush, I think they're great. also like the Vallejo airbrush metal colors when using a brush, because they just um, yeah, they work out really well. I don't really know what the thing is there, if there's some kind of alcohol in that paint or whatever it is, but it acts differently from your regular sort of acrylic paint. Um, but I think it's very easy to use and brushes on really thin. Um, it does act sometimes a little bit different. It kind of flows out sometimes a bit too much, because it's so thin and flowy, because it's, in theory, it's for the airbrush. But used with a brush, that's pretty much one of the few metallic paints I like to use when I'm using a brush. Then there's also Green Stuff World makes metal pigment. I'm sure you can buy metallic pigments as well in like art stores and stuff like that. But they have a gold and a bronze, and that's like a pigment powder. But if you have some of that pigment powder, mix it with some gold airbrush paint from Vallejo, because the thing is, the Vallejo gold paint in the airbrush version, it doesn't look like gold. They don't have any good gold colors. It's just the silvers and the aluminiums that look great. The gold one is it doesn't look like gold. But adding some of that pigment powder from Green Stuff World, called sort of like antique gold or something like that, adding some of that into the airbrush color from Vallejo, and you got a really, really great gold paint that just looks like gold, and it covers really, really well. I mean, that's the major issue for me, I think, is the two major issues with metallic paints. Is one is the chunkiness of the sparkly grain, and the other is like how it handles on the brush. A lot of them, it's difficult to handle. It's just thick, and usually the airbrush versions work out a lot better. Smurfing You says, I was so inspired I printed out several of the vehicular models. Once down the rabbit. Oh, okay. Yeah. Dragon's Rest. Okay, I'm with you now, Smurfing USA. Yes. I am not really sure where it is. It's around here somewhere. I did a video on a spaceship that I printed out, filament printed, and from a company called Dragon's Rest. I think I bought the file. And in the same file, you just get so many bits that you can build pretty much like 4 or 5 different spaceships, and even vehicles and all kind of things. And there's just so much in there. And I haven't got into it yet. I've got so many things that I plan to do, and then they don't happen because I create other plans and do other things. But I wanted to print out a lot of that stuff and just use it as scatter terrain, which I haven't gotten to yet, but I still want to. Yezik says, have you considered the Arkenstone? Is that something you're asking me, Yezik? Or someone else? And Arkenstone sounds very familiar, but I don't know what it is right now. Die Trigger says, Scale 75 metallics, amazing. Just have to shake the living turd out of them first. Yes, but that goes for all paints, kind of, especially scale 75 paints. But, I think one of the things that we don't do is shake our paints enough. There's lots of tips on different metallic paints here in the chat, so that's great. Marcus says the Vallejo airbrush metallics are called metal color. Yes. And I think they use... I should have... Here they are. That was handy. This is what they look like. And it's funny because they're called metal color airbrush colors. So I guess metal color is the name, and then it's metal colors. It's a lot of color for a not very colored paint. So this is a silver and a magnesium. The magnesium is a little bit rough with the size of the metallic-y pigments. The silver is really, really smooth. And then they have an aluminium that's almost like chrome. Almost feels like it's a chrome surface. It's very, very fine. Marcus says all of these Lord of the Ring references are going over Alex's head and out of context. Yes, definitely. But that's fine. Paolo says, in Europe, Sennelier sells pigments for all the colors, be oils, watercolor, or acrylics. Yeah. I mean, obviously, in all paint, there is pigments, which is that, the pigment powder kind of a thing. And usually in art stores, you can get a hold of, or through art companies, you can get a hold of the powder because some people like to mix their own paints in different ways. But there is like a divider there, which is interesting. There's all these different paints and pigments and all these kind of things in art stores, but we only kind of feel comfortable buying them if we can buy them in the game store, which is just the way of things. It's funny as well because you probably, if you look around the globe, sometimes it might actually be simpler to get a hold of art supply things than it is miniature painting brands. So we're getting so many different brands of paint now. That it's sometimes difficult to do recommendations because it's like Vallejo. Do you get Vallejo, or do you get Green Stuff World, or do you get Army Painter, or do you get P3, or do you get Scale 75, or do you get Chimera? What can you get in your game store? And like even just in the last, like how many new brands of paint is there in the past year? At least 3 that I can think of. Yeah, Yezik says, I've been mixing my own oils recently, and it's a ton of fun. I can imagine. Alexic says, sorry if you've answered this before. What's your day job when you're not doing hobby sort of things? I'm a photographer, and I also work with filmmaking. It's been a bit slow as of late because there's like an economic crisis kind of a thing going on a little bit. And it's also been rather slow after the pandemic compared to pre-pandemic. So slow post-pandemic is really, really slow, but I'm sure it'll pick up. Shrek PMC says, I started an amateur fiction YouTube channel. Congratulations. I'm not sure I understand what that means. What's amateur fiction? What kind of fiction? Like books or? Comcat says, I've crossed Green Stuff World off my list after they trademarked color shifting. Marcus says, so much sketchy stuff from Green Stuff World. Yeah, I don't know. I'm two minds about it. It's interesting. We have a lot of pretty hardcore opinions with the things that touch our hobby. If you buy a spare part for your car, it's not like you're going to be like, oh, that's a bit of a shifty company. I won't buy that spare part. I'm going to buy the other one. You just go, I just need a spare part. Or, Green Stuff World has made quite a few very strange moves. It's sometimes, I imagine, in their office, there's they've got a good guy and a bad guy. And they're both allowed to do exactly whatever they want, and just whoever gets to the problem first is and so some of the things they do are really strange. But at the same time, I appreciate a lot of their products, which are products that no one else does, like weird things. All of them, people keep repeating, yeah, sure, but I could do that with just some things from the hardware store, and yeah, that's great, good on you, but you can't buy it in the game store. Like people who don't have the knowledge of making spider serum or liquid crystals, they were one of the first companies that came out with UV resin. There's nothing spectacular about that, but finally people could just buy UV resin in the game store instead of having to go to some specialist shop, all these things. And so it is accommodating people to do their hobby with relatively cheap products, which I think is a very good thing. And then they do strange marketing decisions and stuff like that. And a lot of their products are maybe I personally, I don't like their paints at all. I think it's nothing I enjoy painting with. That's more of a personal thing maybe, but Yezik says, it's very unsurprising that you're a photographer with your understanding of lighting and shot composition. Yes. And also amount of gear. There is no way this YouTube channel could ever pay for the gear that is used making the videos. I can tell you that. Clyde Dashing says, made any progress on your actual fantasy terrain? No, I haven't. Well, I've assembled quite a bit. Now I'm kind of been waiting. That was one of the reasons as well why I got annoyed with I thought it was going to be spring and then there was more snow. I mean, essentially I need to prime all of it to start off with. And that will be done by the use of a rattler can, obviously. And so I need it to stop snowing and raining and stuff, so that I can prime all the MDF terrain. So it's kind of on hold until it's decent priming weather outside. And yes, it's fully possible to prime things in cold weather. If you heat up your rattle can and take whatever it is you're going to prime outside and prime it and take it inside to make sure that it doesn't actually sort of start curing while it's minus 10 degrees outside. And it's fully possible. But if I'm going to be doing like 20 MDF buildings, I'd rather just be able to have them outside and just do everything outside and not have to rush in and out and all of this. So maybe in a month's time or something, I can, because it has to stop raining as well. A day like today, I could probably have done it, but I'm not there yet. When it comes to the planning. Right now, I'm building the tank, which is also important. We should all, build a tank every now and again. It's a very enriching experience, I can tell you. Shrek PMC says, great channel. It's nice. It's still small enough you're able to read all the posts. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Still takes me ages to read all the comments on videos and try and answer them. That's like a full day's work or more. And but yeah, I try. I don't really think about small or big or things like that. I just have fun doing what I'm doing, I think. Stretch says, have you tried enamel paints for weathering washes the way you use oils? I haven't. I've tried once. I haven't really dug into it because it feels like okay, so they don't do exactly the same thing, but they kind of do the same thing. And because I've invested in oils, I don't feel like I also want to invest in enamels. And I do have old enamel paints. I think some of them are probably still fine. And so obviously I could do the same thing. Like you can do your own enamel wash by just using enamel paint and thinning it down and stuff like that. I mean, the plus side of using enamel paints is that they dry fast. They cure in a different manner than oils, and so they cure faster. And whatever's cured is not, has a different type of surface and texture to it, maybe. So it could maybe be more efficient for some things than what oil paint is if we take into consideration like drying times or curing times and stuff like that. But I still enjoy working with oils, and so that sort of kind of fills the niche. And then with the oil paint, I can also use in other ways that you can't really do with enamels. So I haven't really been overly tempted because it feels like the oil paints fill that function, and then I just don't. That means I don't have to invest in another 20 paints. I can just use the 20 paints I've already got. Clyde Dashing says, "You mean you haven't perfected your weather control system yet?" No, I've got an entire floor working on it, technicians and all, but they're just not. I should probably fire them and hire new ones. Comcat says, "Airbrush primer is the best for a reason." Do you mean in reference to the priming? Yeah, but I wouldn't want to try and prime like 20 MDF buildings, some of them this size, with an airbrush. It would just be a waste of time and clogging, and so definitely use rattle can priming for MDFs, I think would be my tip. It's nice to use the airbrush for like the little places where you couldn't really reach, but yeah. Girl Painting says, in fact, I am building a tank right this moment, a Land Raider Redeemer, since Terminators are back on the menu. I'm sure that's a tank. But why do you need a Land Raider Redeemer? Because Terminators are back. Please let me know. Comcat says, I believe it's a Hummel, the Tamiya one. Do you mean this? This is a Nashorn, an anti-tank gun on wheels. Ikiusen. That was tricky. I'm sorry. Hello, Alex. Been watching since the first video. I love your style. Kind regards from Argentina. Well, that's great to hear. Welcome to the live stream. Phil says 100th scale tanks are very cheap and my best de-stressor except for terrain. Yeah, I enjoyed building this one. It was sort of on the, the kit, comparing this to something like, 1/35th scale, I probably have more bits. So that was nice with this one. There wasn't like tons of fiddly stuff, but there's still a fair bit of fiddly stuff if one is used to just mainly Warhammer. And it's a Tamiya kit and not like a Dragon kit, so it's reasonable. So I've been enjoying it, and I think it's just right at about the limit where I'm at, where I've enjoyed the whole build, and it's not been overwhelming. I think sometimes with scale models, it just goes too far, which is like, well, why did this piece have to be 5 different pieces that I have to glue together to one piece and then do that 10 times to, and so on and so forth. And this was still in the enjoyable range for me. I'm talking about this on a, it's a personal experience, not what's right or wrong. So this was fun for me. And then, but it was still a lot of bits. So I think if it would have been, another 3 pages to the manual, to the build, then I would have started to be like, is this not going to end soon? Charles, how you doing? Made it. I hope you're doing well, Charles. Also, Mikey R. Did I just not spot you before? I don't know. Mikey R says, enamels dry out in the bottle. If you don't keep using them every week, then they go bad. Yes, but also sometimes it takes a very, very long time. I opened up some of my dad's Humbrol paints that he had from when he was a kid and could still stir some of them about. Like half would just dry, so there's just a dry sediment and then whatever the liquid is. But some of them were actually, I could still stir them into a workable paint, which is weird because that would mean, it's he's born in the 40s. So it's very, very, very old paint. I think the Humbrol paints that I bought as a kid were all still fine last time I checked. So it feels like, maybe depending on how much air gets in there and whatever. But yeah. Grey Fox asks, do you have any videos on how to use inks? Not really. I don't know if I've got many videos on how to use anything. My best advice to using inks is to buy some and try and see how you go. Usually they're pretty potent, like very vibrant. So you might want to thin them down with something, water or some kind of a medium. Um, they're good for different things. It's they're usually transparent. Not, I mean, there's inks that are not transparent, but a lot of inks are transparent, and so I guess one can think of them as using tinting other things, but you still want the other color to shine through. So, I don't know if you saw my recent video on where I painted quite a few little yellow space marines. And so essentially I had one color underneath and then I had a contrast paint on top that, filtered the color underneath into something different. So having a blue color underneath and painting yellow contrast paint on that means you get green, because blue and yellow makes green. And working with inks, you can play with the same things. If you put a yellow ink on top of a blue surface, you tend to get something green, and so on and so forth. But they can also just be really great for enhancing vibrancy. If say you paint something yellow and you just want it to be the most yellow in the yellow, then you can just add yellow ink on top of your already existing yellow, and it'll just be really yellow. Calvin says, thanks for doing this. Got to go. Good to have you, Calvin. Oops. Where was I? Here I was. Yezik says, filler primer for FDM is rather nice. I've never tried it, actually. Yeah, never tried it. Ben says, any guide to doing a forest floor for a base? I'm currently doing a Sylvaneth army. I think I might. I think I'm probably the wrong person to ask when it comes to forests. Kind of. I have this strange thing. It goes, kind of on and off. But sometimes, most of the time, I have difficulties with the fact, and this is in reference to like Warhammer. I think if I would be doing like scale models, maybe I would think differently. But like with Warhammer, this isn't a Warhammer actually from Warhammer, but if let's say we call this style of miniatures, this is a goblin from another company, but fantasy miniatures or sci-fi miniatures and stuff like that. They're sculpted in a specific manner and style. And usually if you say you buy Warhammer, certain miniatures, they can be like on an ornamental base, for example. When you buy the miniature, there can be a leaf. There's a sculpted leaf or these things. And so then when you're going to do a forest, what people usually do is they use tufts and grass flocking, and they build a tree, but they put some kind of like fluffy stuff on the tree so it looks like fluff, but it's not sculpted leaves. For me, a tree in Warhammer should have sculpted leaves, not sort of some kind of organic material. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this correctly, but it turns into like an aesthetical issue for me for some reason, that I think that everything should be sculpted. So the tree should be sculpted, the leaves should be sculpted. Grass obviously is tricky to sculpt, but it's like a different style. And so I never really do forest things. I can do trees, but then it's usually dead trees, because then I don't have to worry about the leaves all that much. But I'm sure there's plenty of other forest tutorials. It is also very much worth checking out the scale model side of things, or also like railway model side of things, because they usually work a lot with forests and that type of environments, especially in a diorama setting. Girl Painting says, because a Land Raider Redeemer is a transport vehicle for Terminators. See, I learned something new today. Thank you, my German viewer. See you, Marcus. Have a good Saturday. And hello, Adrian. It's good. You did like a tag team thing there. Marcus jumps out and Adrian comes in. Afternoon, Alex and everyone. Unless it's your local afternoon. Unless it's not your local afternoon. It is my local afternoon. Mikey R says, Tamai kits make you realize how bad the older Games Workshop kits were. I was quite embarrassed by how bad the Lehman Russ kit was when I was building guard tanks. Might be. I mean, the instructions are great, and the bits are actually in numerical order, which is fascinating for me, coming from Warhammer, because usually if you get a sprue from Games Workshop, it's like 1, 19, 34, 3, 16, 44, 9. You have no idea where you are and what you're doing. Usually there's an A or a B, so if you're on the right sprue, but finding the right bit is virtually impossible at times. Whereas Tamiya, they have this intriguing concept of putting the bits in numerical order. So you start with 1 at the top, and then the next bit is that's called bit number 2, and the bit after that is called bit number 3. And it's a fascinating system. And so it's kind of easy to find the bits. I haven't actually not found a bit this entire build. The bit has been exactly where I thought it would be. And that is fascinating out of a Warhammer perspective. Hello, Mark Flanagan. I hope you're doing well. Charles says, I've been printing tanks on my Ender 3. Yeah, I was considering actually printing a tank, but I realized that I wanted to build, because I have a diorama in mind where I want to use a tank. And I thought maybe I should just print a tank. But I really wanted to just build a scale model. So that's kind of what happened. But please, yes, Charles, please post them on the Discord. That'd be cool. Once more, even if it's a bit repetitive, please like the stream. If you're new and you've joined, press the like button, because then people will know that it exists. And if you're going like, this is the most awesome thing I've ever witnessed in the history of YouTube, how can I, is there any way I could support this so that it, to continue there's so many. I'm trying, but it's really difficult. I've got a Patreon. If you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon. You can also buy a wonderful piece of sci-fi art from my website, which is 52miniatures.com. I actually want to move over I have a Teespring with like merch that I'm not really comfortable with the business model of Teespring, kind of. I like the idea of people being able to like, wow, it's really cool. Can we buy like a T-shirt with your logo on it? And it's nice to be able to provide that. But because of the nature of how that works, print on demand and all of these things, it's just sometimes people do it because they want to support me, but the reality is I'm not really getting much out of that, because most of the money goes to Teespring. So I'm going to look in to see what I can do with moving over all the merch to my website, and maybe have so that the money that people want to support with me actually goes to support the channel, and not another company. It's a bit silly. So, but that just finished the Eve thing, so I'm taking a break from. I want to paint miniatures. That's kind of what this is about. So. Mark has a keen eye. He says, late, I see tanks, or what looks like a German tank destroyer, an Nashorn. It is a Nashorn. It's 148 Tamaya Nashorn, which I've been building for days now. Mikey says, Humbrol paints in those little paint tins. Yeah, very different to the plastic bottle enamel washes. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Humbrol paint in the metal tins. That's what I was referring to, Mikey. I can imagine that streaking grime and stuff like that in plastic with the screw tops, and that will be very different. Comcat asks, I've got to ask, have you ever watched Posey's videos? No, I don't know who Posey is, but I can. What does Posey do? Please enlighten me. Mark says, a very rare beast. Think only a few of them were built and made into service. Yeah. The only reason for this is actually the open top, because I'm going to, so that was the only reason I bought this model. Is I wanted a tank, but I also wanted it there to be an open top, because it's going to go in a diorama, and I want whatever's going to be inside to be visible, basically. And I just like the style of it. It looks cool. It's it's got good shapes going. Very very German tankish. George says, oh, wait. George said something and then it jumped because all the text just jumped. Where is it? Someone says, Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you too, but that's not where I was. Where was I? George says, would like to try Black 3.0. Yeah, I'd like to get some Black 3.0 as well sometimes, just for like when you're trying to hide things, I was going to say, but like the edges of dioramas and stuff like that, just paint black would be cool to use, something like that. I haven't actually checked if they have. Maybe it's something that is in stock in art stores or stuff in town, but it's not really been super high on my priority list, but it would be nice to have some. Kelamac, how are you doing? Says, sorry I'm late, I overslept. Thank you, a great video. It really teaches me something important. The lighting video, is that the one you meant? And I'm glad to hear so. Oversleeping is also, I so would like to oversleep. It's like that part of me died when I got a child. And I wake up 6 o'clock every morning, regardless of what happened. Like I can be up till 2 in the morning and have done way too many things, and then it's like 6 o'clock, pling, no alarm, nothing. It's draining, I tell you. Comcat says, Alex, is it okay to ping you on Discord to show you my crazy lightning setup? You can try it. If you really want to, you can email 52miniatures@gmail.com. The Discord I only use for my the the Discord channel that I have, which is for my patrons. And there's not, that's the perk you get if you support me on Patreon. You get to talk to me on Discord. But if you really want to show me, you can just email, and I can check it out. Phil says forest basings, tea leaves, and beech seeds. Then trim old brushes for pine needles or twigs. Yes, all good tips from Phil. I agree. Phil also says that Marcus and Adrian are the same guy. Yeah, could be. And Adrian says, "Oh, I remembered to like the stream on the way in." That makes a change. Vale says, "I really love the close-up photographs of your space dwarves on Instagram. Do you have any go-to camera assembly for those kind of photos, or does it depend on the specific model?" So essentially, I'm not, I was going to say I'm not at the liberty to tell you what my camera setup is. I am, but it's most probably out of, if you're looking for something to buy, then it's probably out of your price range, because I work professionally as a photographer. So I shoot most of my pictures with the Hasselblad, which is a very expensive camera. It's also got very high resolution, which means that I can just, I can show you close-ups just because the image file is so large that I can just, it's like going enhance. It's like working for CSI, enhance. And so then I can do pretty, what looks like a close-up, but if you actually see the photograph, it's like, here's the picture frame and there's the miniature. So that's how I do the close-ups. The setup is different. Like, I don't have a setup. Every time I take a picture of a miniature, I set it up fresh every time, just because that's just how I work, I guess. But I usually have just I have a lamp, usually I use just a LED thing. What do you call it? A LED panel, and take a picture. I've had some kind of intention of trying to make a video on taking pictures of your miniatures. We'll see how that goes. Because it's kind of a little bit like the lighting video, where it feels like I don't even know where to start. Like what? There's a lot of information that I could pass on, and it could easily become overwhelming and unnecessary in depth. And it's also difficult to know what people don't know when you know that you know a lot. I don't know. I don't really know where to start. Like how little do people know? And I realize they don't know anything. And then I'm like, wow, how can I fit that into a video? And so I haven't done it yet, and maybe I will one day. But it feels like for some reason it just feels like a very big undertaking for me. Stina says, "Thank you for the lighting video. Very informative. I'm glad you liked it. It's performing terribly. It's probably one of my worst performing videos. So I should have put a Warhammer in the title somehow, but I didn't." Yezik asks, "You're going to do more of those pieces of art, correct? I like that one, but it doesn't suit me entirely, but I do enjoy supporting artists." Eventually, but nothing is decided, and I don't know in what manner that I will be. First of all, I think I sold probably about 50 of those, and that's not covering what the entire venture cost. So, the point was that if I start making money off of it, I can take some of that money and support other artists. But that also means that, people need to buy the art. Obviously, it's most likely that I'm going to continue anyway, but it was, part of the deal, man. But I don't know if like future art, if it's going to be something like that. It could be a sculptor as well. I could maybe ask someone because maybe I'd like to get a miniature sculpted. I would consider that being a type of art as well. It might be, yeah. I don't know. I don't, as of right now, I don't have a plan to make a series of art prints. No. I'm sure it's probably going to happen. I have a few ideas for videos that are that would be sort of large undertakings, at least one. Well, that would have to be a series of videos. I won't tell you what it is, but it's something I really would like to do somehow. And in that case, I'd also kind of like to do some art for it. And then obviously it would end up being art prints. But yeah, one step at a time. There needs to be more. Initially, there needs to be more sales of Eve for the equation, for the sort of, for that type of funding equation to work out. Adrian says, "Is Spreadshirt any better for merch? I know the quality is good." Yeah, I don't know. I know the company that I won't mention because they didn't want to pay me what I want to get paid in sponsorship. That where I built the website. It's got something to do with geometrical figures, and a place. Might even be a space. They have their entire sort of shop thing. They have a t-shirt production company connected to that, so I could just maybe go through them. But I think whenever it comes to clothing, that's more going to be like it's probably the same overall. But I'm thinking other things like cups and stickers and all of that kind of things I could maybe do as with the prints, that I actually just buy a bunch and have them here and ship them out myself, so that whoever wants to support me doesn't have to pay that money to another company, that I can actually handle that myself. But with clothing, that's obviously going to be difficult, because I could never have like I know Scott Miniac does that, I think, all the merch and even t-shirts and all of that. He actually has that in stock in every single different shirt in every single different size. That's a big undertaking. Oh, everything jumped again. Sindri's pre-afternoon from the States. Hey. Concat says he just kind of does random videos on whatever he likes. He has a narration like you do. The posse. So it's not miniature related. It's just random videos. I don't really watch much YouTube, honestly. I failed to find the time. I watch my friends, co-creators, every now and again. But apart from that, it's, I don't, yeah. I'm trying to find my way in the chat. Alexic asks, what sort of photography inspired you to take it up as a career? Now, I don't think, I don't even know if I can remember. I started about 20 years ago. I think just an interest in the medium itself, not a specific type of photography. I think I was just fascinated by the fact that you can capture a moment and it's forever that specific little moment, and that specific little angle is forever frozen in time. It was also another type of magic then, because there was no digital cameras on your phone. There was no digital cameras at all, hardly. It was still all on film, and there was a different type of magic to it then. You didn't really know what you were capturing until you got to see it later on. It was more of a magical experience, I'd say. But since then, I've been influenced by lots of different photographers and art in general and stuff like that. But I've always admired portrait photographers and landscape photographers. Mark asks, are you going to use the tank destroyer in a historical or fantasy diorama? With miniatures, of course. Very intrigued. Yes, I know. Should we leave that as a cliffhanger, Mark? Or should I, maybe I'd mix? Who knows? Maybe it'll be historical sci-fi or historical fantasy. Who knows? But no, it won't be a straight scale modeling diorama. There's going to be a twist. That's for sure. Girl Painting says, a good way to fool the inner clock is to go to bed at 6 o'clock. That way you can sleep however long you like. Once. Yeah, like once. See, my issue is I'm like an evening person in theory. I think my brain works its best. I'm more creatively, at least, productive in the evenings and at night, which doesn't go hand in hand with waking up at 6 o'clock with a really refreshed and energetic child that's been sleeping for 12 hours. That's an exaggeration. 10 hours, maybe. Hein Miniatures says, yes, I wake up at 5:36 every day without an alarm, regardless of time I go to bed. I would so love to sleep in some time. Exactly the same here, Iron Miniatures. Hello, Ryan. I'm glad you made it as well. Still early morning in Alaska. That's a mighty far away. Good to have you. MBP says, hello from the German Autobahn. Are you chatting and driving at the same time? That's... Yezik says you could make a series on miniature photography. Yeah, I know. I get pretentious about it because it's, and it kind of feels a bit strange because I've had classes in schools for photography, and stuff like that, and so which would be at a much higher level and a much more sort of, in a way, creative level. This is more like, put a lamp, because it's so basic, So I don't know. I'm having a hard time shaping my mind around how that would be done. It's like I know too much. That's kind of what I feel. And like what I do to get a good photograph is a lot of different things, and I don't know if everyone would like to go through all that. Yeah, I don't know. Raphael says, "How to light Warhammer 10th edition models for Warhammer." Yes, that should have been the title. You're quite right. How to do 40k light Warhammer AOS miniature tabletop lighting Warhammer for Instagram profit and NFTs. Now we're talking. See, I should hire all you guys. You can write my video titles. Oh, everything jumped, and there was donations. That guy in the sky. How are you doing? Good afternoon, Alex. Hope you're well. What's the next diorama in the pipeline? Also, when will we see you back at the country house? Keep up the great content, brother. All the best from Ireland. All the best to you as well. Next diorama will be the next video. Next video will be a diorama build. Probably the one after that as well. It sort of depends on the sponsor, actually. It's just a bit silly, but there we are. Probably the next 3 will be a diorama. I should show you, by the way. Look at these lovely things. I haven't had the time to put these up, and they're gonna get put up. And yeah, we've got new paint racks. How cool are these? Smells like wood. So there's a bunch of them with different things for different types of paints and different styles, and I will finally be able to see all my paint. I think, which is a great thing. What happened to the? Yeah, things are jumping around. I'm sorry, but these are from the guys who make the really cool boxes, Frontier Wargaming. They make these, but that's going to be in a video as well. I'm just stoked. Sorry, I was in the middle of saying thank you to that guy in the sky. I appreciate the donation, and yes, there's going to be tons of. I really like making the dioramas. So I think the plan is dioramas and finishing my Stormcast, which is, I think I have almost everything I've got 10 miniatures that I've already kit bashed. I've got a hero that I'm going to kit bash, and then another hero that I just need to, and then I need to paint all that, and then my army is done. And then it's all the MDF builds. So that's stuff I'm going to do. But yeah, you'll be getting dioramas for sure. Back in the country house, probably in the summer. It's usually when we hang out there. My kid will have school holidays for 3 months or something. I don't know, it's ages. And so I probably have to hide him out there somehow and try and get some work done at the same time, because for some reason having holidays doesn't pay monies. Okay, back to the other. Everything jumped in the chat. Mikhail says, "Are you into the other games April thing?" Yes, sort of, but I think I'm always into it. I try very much, and I've always tried to just make videos on the things that I like. Unfortunately, I guess we could say the audience doesn't agree. So if I don't have Warhammer or Space Marines in the video or the title, then it gets half the amount of views as something that has Warhammer in the title, which is just silly, according to me. I know it's an interest. I can definitely see if you're into the lore, if you're watching story videos, people talking about the rules, or people talking about the stories. But I'm just into mainly the painting. And so if I'm painting a goblin from Cromlech, or if I'm painting a Space Marine, it doesn't really matter. But it does for a lot of people. Then they want to watch me paint the Space Marines, not some other future space soldier in a specific color. But I have always tried to not do that, and then sometimes I just have to do it because it's it affects my income, unfortunately. But yes, I am doing the Other Games April, which is initiated by Scott Miniak, which is essentially not doing Warhammer content for April. So not a huge difference for me, but a very big difference for some other channels that only solely do Warhammer content. Isaac, how you doing? I'm late. Thanks for all the good lucks yesterday. Haircut went well. Still have my ears, but I'm down an eyebrow. That's, I mean, you kick it off lightly. Isaac as well was hanging out in the Discord chat that we have sometimes, hobby hangouts on the Discord for the patrons of 52 miniatures. And Isaac suddenly had to run off yesterday because he was getting his eyebrow shaved. George Miro says a German tank killed Hobbit. Yeah, that'd be a good diorama. What if Sauron had tanks? Comcat asks me, ever seen M.K models? No. Is that a brand that makes models, or is it another YouTube thing? Melvin asks, what do you think are the best brushes? I've used Army Painters and Citadel brushes, and I think it's time for upgrade. Do you have any recommendations? So have you mainly been using synthetic brushes? Because there's quite a big difference in feel, I'd say, when using synthetic brushes, or if you're going to start using like actual animal hair brushes, natural brushes. I pretty much only use like the more expensive natural hair brushes and not synthetic brushes. I've still struggled to find a synthetic brush that doesn't just, that the tip gets sort of worn and bent like this. I don't know if it's my style of painting or whatever, but it feels like with synthetic brushes, it just doesn't last longer than a few paint jobs, and then I can't use it anymore, which to me feels like a waste of resources. And so I buy more expensive natural hair brushes, and I try to take care of them, and then they last really long. And I think in the long run, they actually are as cheap as the synthetic ones, just because they last longer. There's plenty of different brands. There's traditional artist brands like Winsor and Newton, Da Vinci, and all of these make high-end natural hair brushes, but also some of your game companies like Scale 75, for example, makes brushes, and Monument Hobbies make brushes. Recommendations is tricky because it's very personal. I think some people like larger brushes, some like really thin brushes, some like short, some like long. It's like my best tip would maybe every new brush you buy is a different brush to the one you just bought. Start off with the size that you've been enjoying with the synthetic brushes, try and find a natural hairbrush maybe that's the same size and see how you like that natural hairbrush. And then, if you like that and you paint with it for a while and, something happens to it, or it, gets ruined or whatever, or you just have a bit of extra money, buy one from another brand. I very much enjoy Winsor & Newton Series 7. They have a miniature version, and I don't really like those. Just the regular Winsor & Newton Series 7. I like the brushes from Redgrass Games, especially their small brush. The large one is good, but after pretty fast it doesn't really hold its tip very well. But I like it for larger surfaces, even when the tip isn't great. So I find great use of it anyway. I have a patron that swears a lot. I've got a patron that swears a lot. No, that's very happy with scale 75 brushes, and she paints a lot of miniatures. But yeah, it's such a personal thing, and I think the only way you can sort of do it is just to sort of start shopping around. And I definitely, if you haven't tried natural hairbrushes, I'd start there and see how you like them. And maybe if you can, if you realize that no, I like synthetic brushes better, then you'll have maybe at least a cheaper way of shopping around for different company brushes. Oh, here's another thank you from Calamac. Says, thank you for the last video on lighting. Now I see the importance of good lighting on my workshop. I'm going to be deploying a systematic solution. Exciting. You'll have to let me know what your systematic solution is. And thank you very much for the kind donation. I really appreciate it. John Ashley Smith, how are you doing? Good day. Are you giving historical figures a go for a change of pace? I was deeply obsessed with 1/35th military miniatures in my teens, is where I kind of started. Yes, I'm doing a scale model. I'm going to, it's going to be in a diorama, but it's going to be, mixed with other things. But I'm also probably going to, in the video, talk a little bit about it because I'm a little bit fascinated with the big sort of division between the sort of fantasy and sci-fi side of things, and then there's the scale model side of things, and there's like a wall in some manners, and but we still use the same products and the same paints, and in I guess the same skill set. On the other hand, paint jobs can look very, very different. We use different aesthetics, all these kind of things might also end up in the video, and that might be why I'm doing it, or maybe I'm just doing it because I felt like doing a scale model. I haven't started writing the script yet, so I don't know what way it'll go. I don't really plan these things. I just do the hobby bit first, and then after that experience, after I've gone through the experience of actually doing the hobby bit, that's when I start writing the script. So I never really know what's going to happen until I start writing the script. That guy in the sky says, lads, let's give the stream a like. I agree. Ladies too, please. Stretch says, Ria Tank, you're not going to paint a Space Marine as a Nazi, are you? No, it's a good idea. Actually, I'll have to ponder that one. But this one's not going to have a Nazi Space Marine in it. When I say that it's a good idea, is that it's a good idea out of the dystopian future type setting, because that would be as dystopian as you could get it, and even more hardcore, grim and dark than we would ever want to imagine. But I probably would never do it because I wouldn't, want to. There is that side of wargaming sometimes, the sort of the people that actually are Nazis and think that that's cool, and I wouldn't want to. I don't think I just don't want to really go there. Maybe one day, but not right now. That guy in the sky says, "Christ on a bike. Those paint racks look sweet." They certainly are. I asked them if they could stain them because they're wood, and usually people get some kind of a nice brown. You can see a little bit of the brown here. I know everything for you right now looks a bit blue because I've graded everything, but they are actually stained sort of gray because I asked them if I could have bunker stained paint racks. And they do, like, part of their service is that you can ask for to get things stained whatever way you want it. So I've got bunker stained paint racks, which is rather rad. And I really need to get these up on the wall, but I just haven't. Yeah, I've been building a tank. That's important too. Raphael says, I think Warhammer is having a huge burst in people joining the hobby right now, so they're looking for any Warhammer content they can find. They simply don't know about other minis than Games Workshop. It's true. It's also just, it is the biggest in, if you look at sort of Warhammer 40K, it's massive compared to Stargrave or something like that. And so if you only have the time to watch 1 or 2 YouTube videos in a week, and you're interested in Warhammer 40K because you're one of the majority, then obviously you're going to watch something that's Warhammer 40K related and not some guy, building a scale model tank, because that's what maybe a scale modeler who's interested in scale modeling would maybe watch that. So I totally understand it. It's just I guess it's a strange feeling knowing that I'd have a more successful channel if I just stuck to Warhammer. Like, as in successful, as in what, YouTube thinks is successful. I would have more views and I would have more subscribers. I think my channel is successful because for me, success is doing something I enjoy. And I'm enjoying myself. So therefore, I have a successful channel. But it's just strange that if I would just stop with this, if this would be one of them, I've got a Warhammer tank somewhere. I should just if that would just be the Warhammer tank instead, and the next video would have twice as many views. It's a strange feeling, I definitely understand why that's the way it is, but it's sometimes a little bit hard for the ego to accept. That guy in the sky is doing some excellent Patreon marketing. I very much appreciate it. Thank you. Comcat says, Marke is Maschinenkrieger. It's a Japanese artist fantasy World War thing. World War II in space. I'll have to look it up. LU3TZ said Monument Hobbies Synthetics first ones that worked for me. Yeah, I've been hearing good things about Monument Hobbies Synthetics, also Scale 75 Synthetics. Both. I haven't had the chance to try any of them. Monument Hobbies is kind of tricky to get a hold of here. My local gaming store has actually started to stock some of their things. So like the primers, but I think that's about it. They might have some of the paint, but I think it's in the paints are all in their pretty large sort of starter kit thing, which is not really how I like to buy paint. But otherwise, it's easier for me to get a hold of Scale 75 things, I think. But I want to try both Monument Hobbies and Scale 75 Synthetics, because it's been, I've mainly been painting with natural hairbrushes for a while, and it'd be fun to have a few more better ones, synthetic ones. Just because I've never felt that I tried a good synthetic brush, but also for all the oil painting and everything, I'd like to have a bit better of a stash of synthetic brushes. John Ashley Smith says, I've been getting good results with AK synthetic brushes. Yeah, I haven't really. I think I do something when I paint that wears brushes out fast. I don't know. I haven't had good luck with the AK ones, not the Abteilung ones either, which I think are just a regular AK ones, but they've got a black handle. I'm not sure. But I just get these really bent tip really fast. Where are we? Things jumped. That guy in the sky says, have you seen the YouTube video of the lad in Japan making calligraphy brushes? I haven't, but I can imagine, the effort that goes into the sushi. I can imagine the effort going into brushes doing the calligraphy, seeing as that's like, uh, you know, proper mindful thing to do. We've got some recommendations for brushes here in the chat, which is great. Anna Karin says, moved room in the kitchen making lasagna. Anyone hungry? I'm definitely hungry. It's about dinner time now, 6:13. It's 20. I've been streaming for 2 hours and 20 minutes now. I should probably stop soon. And so I'm a bit hungry, but I don't know how to plan that because I should continue with my scale modeling. I want to prime this today so that I can start painting it tomorrow. Because I want my primer to cure at least overnight. Maybe today is a pizza day. John Ashley Smith says, good taste prevents me from doing Nazi Space Marines. Yeah, kind of the same thing here. I think, yeah. It's a bit tricky. John Ashley Smith asks, any Battletech stuff in the pipeline? No, there isn't. I haven't really checked out Battletech much. That guy in the sky says, yeah, I had major issues with the 52 Miniatures Patreon. Yeah, that was with Patreon, wasn't it? For some reason, I can't remember that, what the specific thing was, but it was something with the credit card or something. I can't remember. Ryan says, I love the creativity and diversity of focuses in your videos. The Warhammer focus is the least interesting thing, and it bums me out that you're forced to focus there by the algorithms. Yeah, I mean the algorithms are sort of based on who is watching, I guess. So and how easily something is packaged. I could probably get more views if I would be only doing scale models as well. If I went down that line, or only doing, YouTube really likes when you're only doing the one thing. It's like my book recommendations. YouTube doesn't know what to do with that, and they can't recommend it to other people that like books because that's not how the algorithm works. If I would be doing only book recommendations, then it would be like, oh, this is something I know what this is, and I think that's that's part of the issue is when doing all these different type of things, then YouTube just doesn't know what it is. What's going on with that guy? Can he not just do the one thing? And so, Warhammer is one part of it, but it's also that when just doing a little bit of Warhammer, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, it's just more confusing for YouTube as well. Travis Denny says, "Lucky me, and you're having a live stream gives me an opportunity to say thank you. Your content stands out for production value, tone, style, and craft. Very refreshing and quite welcome. Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate it." Mark says as well, I love the Monument Hobbies sable brushes. Yeah, I'm gonna check. I know, like, my local friendly game store is very good at taking on new things whenever they come out. When I say new things, is that it's taken quite some time for Monument Hobbies to get over to Europe, and to have a distributor in Europe. But they're really good at trying to get in as many things as possible. So they might actually stock their brushes now. I don't know. I should check. Klein Dashing says, if you pay Alex more, he'll keep chatting. That'd be like one of those marathon things. Like someone donates $1 every 10 minutes. And I'm like, ooh, a couple of more hours and that pizza's paid for, Yezik says, how about some Soviet Union Tau? Yeah, see, that's interesting as well. It's like, not that we should really be going there, but obviously there's reasons why. This is the strangest thing I've said all day. There's obviously reasons why the Nazi thing is complicated. The fact that they murdered millions of people. But so did the Soviets. But for some reason, that isn't as complicated, even though it should be as complicated. And I'm not talking about the fact that people die in war. I'm talking about, eradication of Jews in concentration camps and work camps and all of labor camps and all of these things. Anyway, it's a nice, pleasant note to end this stream on, which I probably should be doing. But you guys are like writing so many interesting things that I'm having a hard time quitting this today. But I think I'm going to probably, because it's going to be a bit of, I think it's going to be an unlabeled tank. Let's say that much. Hypothetical, whatever country you want, kind of a tank in a war that never existed. Thank you, Clad Dashing, for the pizza. I appreciate it. Oh, there's another pizza. There's tomorrow's pizza. Okay, Alex, not to get personal, how are you doing yourself? The workload of the channel, the work outside of the channel. We never get to see or hear the trials and tribulations. Okay. As Clyde was saying, that guy in the sky just paid for another 10 minutes. Because I want to answer your question. Everything is good. I get thank you, Gray Fox. I'm gonna get one of those expensive pizzas now with like the expensive topping. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. No, everything is well. That guy in the sky. I think winter. I have a hard time with winter in this country, which is So why does one live in Sweden? But it gets a bit depressing after a while, not having sunshine and not being able to just flaunt around in shorts and drink beer in public. I don't know. So it's been a long winter, and I'm kind of tired from all of that. So I'm really glad that today seems to be a spring day, because that means there's going to be more spring days. Whereas there's also been some kind of an economical crisis going, so there's less paying work, photography, and that. But I'm kind of used to the mood swings of working commercially with something in the commercial end of things. There's a lot of mood swings. The channel is going great. I'm gonna get to eat a lot of pizza today, as you can see. Thank you very much, George. I'm not gonna get a Surströmmings pizza. That's gonna require enormous amounts of money. Those of you that don't know what surströmming is, it's essentially fermented fish. It smells like death. It's like Nurgle invented food and put it in a tin, and for some reason people eat it, and I just don't get it. It's a Swedish tradition. So basically, the fish ferments in the tin to the point of a can. That you have tuna or corn or whatever, but there's fish, and it ferments to the point that the tin expands. It looks like it's more like round, and then people open that thing, and if they don't faint because of the smell, they eat it, which is really strange. I've always thought that food should be, smell nice and savory, and like a Hawaiian pizza with pineapple. Pineapple's nice, it's sweet, and yeah. Anyway, where were we? So yeah, things are good. I'm probably gonna go to Canada, honestly, and visit Mini Wargaming in a month or so, which is kind of cool. So that's an exciting prospect. But I shouldn't say too much, because then all of a sudden, like, there's a volcano erupts on Iceland or something, and you can't fly anywhere, or someone invents a new pandemic, or I'll let you know when I'm there, basically. And I'm very much looking forward to making more videos. That's why I want to stop talking now and start working on my scale model, so that I can get to paint it and have some great hobby time. But thank you for asking, that guy in the sky. Everything's pretty good. And I believe this stream is now going to end in about 45 seconds, because then we've done 2 hours and 30 minutes, and that's a good number, I reckon. Thank you, everyone, for your very kind donations. This is lovely, and thanks for hanging out. It's Easter and everything, and you guys came in here and hung out, which is very nice to see. Now I'm going to go build me some neutral country tank. Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks, everyone.